Hi, it's Dory here for Gamereactor. We're at Gamescom at the Devolver booth, and we're touching up on Hard West. Now, very interesting game, a lot of different levels of gameplay. Can you basically tell us in a nutshell what is Hard West?
Right, but the most important layer of gameplay is a tactical turn-based shooter, but there are a lot of twists and there is a strategic overarching gameplay. So basically you strategize, you make your moves on a larger map and then dive right into a shootout, a Wild West shootout with a twist, with a supernatural element coming in to mess things up.
Oh, you see that? I didn't even realize there was a supernatural element there.
Of course there is. We are, the genre of the setting is called Weird West. If you look it up, it's actually a thing, but we're not adhering very strictly to it. What we're going for is all the Western legends, which is, you know, history, tales, and so on, plus a hint of dark magic, demons, pacts with the devil. Basically, it's pretty grim and dark, devil, death, and destiny, but it does make a difference in gameplay. For example, when demons show up to defend something you wanted to get, it gets hairy.
Now, I want to touch a little bit upon, let's start with the strategic element of it. First of all, you're doing away with what a lot of other people in this genre are doing with randomization. Every level is built purposefully and everyone is unique, right?
That's absolutely correct, and you know, it's a different way to go about things, but our game is very story-driven, story-heavy. We want not just good strategic tactical gameplay, but we want people to be drawn into the tale that's being told. So every map, every mission, there's probably 40-ish of them. I mean, 40 is the minimum, we may end up a little over that. And every one of those is built individually, and even with that, there are optional objectives, there are alternate paths, so even within those, there is still room to maneuver. We just wanted to have unique and specific control over what's going on, how the story is gonna unfold, at least on the highlights, because what happens then depends on the player.
And you're also doing something very interesting with the character progression. You're not just doing like action points or that you can level up your character. You actually get cards with special powers, and then you can layer it up as a poker hand. How does that work?
Well, that's essentially exactly what you said. Instead of assigning attributes or skills directly to the characters, the abilities or skills that you collect are represented by poker cards. You know, it's a very nice Wild West twist. That was a popular game back then. And then you assign them to specific characters, and like you said, if they form any of the poker hands, any of the combos, you get even more power out of them. So it becomes yet another layer of how I distribute that. And while the strategic and tactical gameplay, the basics are predictable. You shoot, you have accuracy, luck, defense, and cover, and so on. The skills that you can use are really, really powerful. They are game changers. So it's not just like shoot faster or +5 to damage. This is something that allows you, for example, to kill an enemy with one shot, or cover several enemies at once, or make additional moves, or react quickly and defend your whole team. Things like that that make a huge difference, and they can turn a losing battle into a win.
That sounds like really powerful abilities. How do you like balance that? What do you need to do to be able to use the abilities in game? You can't just spam, you know, bring everybody on the level to one health level, right?
Of course, there are limits, and just the card mechanics make it a choice for you, because you can't give everything to everyone. And there are also things that are sort of utility skills that you just know you want to have. If you want to go in quietly, for example, you'll figure out that you need something that allows you to elude guards or distract them until you're ready to strike. So this sort of leaves you 1 or 2 slots for something really offensive and powerful. And there are cooldowns, and it's always difficult to explain directly, because this is something you don't see. But behind the scenes, we have a very extensive mechanic we call luck, and it's not just probability, like how likely you are to hit something, but it works both ways, and it takes into account what just happened. So the game isn't pure math, because if it was like that, you could get your whole team killed theoretically in one turn. And the luck mechanic sees what happened, like how many times you were shot at, for example, and if you were already hit, you probably won't get hit again so soon, and so on. If you keep shooting at the target, you're rewarded and you get a slightly higher probability to hit. And it's the same with skills and abilities. They balance out a little bit.
Okay, and you're talking about like sneaking in. There was one pretty interesting mechanic that they showed during the presentation where you can just aim at somebody and go hands up, and by that way taking them out of the game for a couple of turns.
Yeah, that's correct. We have two basic stages. One we call setup. This is the stealthy stage. It's not proper stealth, you're not sneaking in, but you're entering town and trying to be unobtrusive, trying not to draw attention. This is the part of a Western when someone rides into a town and everyone just watches them suspiciously. But until the combat starts, you still have a lot of room to position your whole team and be ready to make a very decisive first strike. And if someone gets too close to you or starts watching you too closely, like you said, you can just hold him at gunpoint and delay the reaction a little bit. That's one of the ways we can do it.
Now, that's all for combat. Let's talk a little bit about the second layer of the game, which is the world map exploration. What is that all about?
That's something that changes with scenarios, so there is no one answer. There is always a map of the area, but the game is divided into scenarios. You could compare them to chapters, and they even have different protagonists. You can play as the guy from the artwork, Warren, and at one point you are playing as an inquisitor, hunting down heretics, and so on and so on. We have a cast of very colorful characters with different objectives, different even moral or real-world objectives, so to speak. And their history, their stories, they will end up colliding and forming one coherent tale. But while you're playing a specific scenario as one person, they may have additional strategic goals. Like, for example, you may want to collect a specific sum of money, or you want to explore something or build a business empire even. And this is what you do on the strategic map in that chapter. So you explore, you can take over certain locations, you can complete optional objectives that will translate into how well prepared you are for the tactical parts, the actual combat.
Okay, and where are you at in development right now? When are you presumably, what do you want to launch the game and on what platforms?
The game is slated for launch this year, fall. First we're launching with PC, Mac and Linux, but we're obviously thinking about moving to other platforms. And we're proceeding along nicely. The game is in beta stage, I could say. So it's what you saw today is in the pretty representative of where we want the game to be, even though we're still polishing it and working on it.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for your interest and coming to see the game.
Yes, and for all other information on Hard West, trailers, previews, and eventually a review when it's out, make sure to stay locked on Gamereactor.